Good evening, everyone. It is 5:30. I'd like to call the meeting of February 23rd, regular council meeting to order. The City of Lacombe acknowledges that we live, work, and govern on the shared territory of Treaty 6. We honor the histories, languages, cultures, and continuing contributions of the Cree, Saulteaux, Dene, Nakota Sioux, and other First Nations, as well as the Métis peoples of the Métis Nation of Alberta District 3 and beyond. We affirm our ongoing relationship with this land and commit to respectful and meaningful engagement with Indigenous peoples as partners in our community. There are a few expected changes to the agenda, but we'll get to them in the proper fashion. We'll begin with the consent agenda. Do I have any changes to the consent agenda? And if not, I'd entertain a motion to adopt the consent agenda as presented. Councillor Goings.
I move that we adopt the consent agenda as presented.
I see no lights. We'll go ahead and proceed with that vote. Please go ahead. And that is unanimous. That moves us then to the main agenda. I do have a few additions. I'll just go ahead and read what I have. I would like to add an in-camera item, so that would be 8.3. The topic would be land. Also included in your emails, there should be 2 additional requests for decision. In order, let's see, Alberta municipalities. Endorsement to submit Alberta municipalities member request for decision, and that's regarding the Lacombe Research and Development Centre closure. That would become 6.7. And an additional item, deferral and rescheduling of the 2026-2029 strategic planning workshop that was originally scheduled for Thursday and Friday. That item would come as 6.8. Is there anything that I've missed or anything additional? I would accept a motion to accept the agenda as amended. Councillor Span.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Okay. So we'll accept the agenda as amended. I'll call the question. Please go ahead and vote. And that is passed unanimously. Thank you very much. So then that takes us into presentations. We have two presentations. The first, annual request for information response summary 2025. We do get these on an annual basis. They are informative, so I would invite whomever is leading us through this item to take the floor, please.
Thank you, Mayor Hibbs. So this is the second or third annual report on the request for information process. This summary was prepared by our data and technology team, who supported me in not just preparing it, but also in processing the RFIs and handling all the back end. So thanks to them. So what we're seeing is that there was a year-over-year decrease from 2025 to from 2024 to 2025. Sorry, I guess. Thank you. So we do this presentation to highlight year-over-year trends, just highlight where citizen and council interest is in terms of which divisions are getting the most requests for information, helps us determine where there might be room for improvement on proactively sharing information, if there's trends we're seeing, that sort of thing. And just to bring council into the loop on that same information. Now, we've been doing these since about 2017, but we only go back five years. To go back further, we had a slightly different system and it would be tough to pull the data. So you can see there's year-over-year variability, but generally you're right around 100 inquiries at any given time. So a couple per week spread out amongst the different divisions. We have both council RFIs and citizen RFIs. They are treated the same. They're processed through the same system. Although obviously council occasionally submits ones that are not for public consumption if they're asking about detailed hiring practices or things that aren't publicly disclosed. So by division, you can see it's been fairly consistent. We did go through a bit of a restructuring in 2024. And so that wasn't a full year of data. The strategy and capital delivery division did not exist until third quarter that year. And tracking turnaround times was a request of council that was implemented in 2025. So the average turnaround is 9.6 days. That's business days, not calendar days. So about 2 weeks. And although that initially sounds like a long time, what we found is that if we've tried to shorten it, it invariably ends up with someone being left out of the loop and there not being complete information or it not being completely accurate. And so we're much more focused on giving a response that can be relied upon and is complete and accurate. In an organization of our size and complexity, that often means multiple departments or department heads need to provide input on a practice or a request because it touches multiple areas. So you can see again, there were slightly less in 2025, but overall the trend is fairly consistent. Is there questions? These are the ways that you can submit RFIs, both as a member of the public or of course as council. You can email me and then we start them off and make sure we get that back to you in as quickly as we can while remaining accurate.
Are there any questions? Councillor Dykslæg.
No question, just a comment. Being brand new to this as a new counselor, very impressed by the thoroughness of those reports when it goes to the department. So I think the 9.6 is a reasonable turnaround time when the response is so robust and detailed. So I've appreciated the ones I've been able to read, clarity on procedures and reasons for the decision or the information that's being passed along. So very well done and compliments to the team.
We'll pass that on. Thank you.
Is there anything else? No, I guess the only thing that I would underscore is just that these are available online that people can read. So if they have a question, it might be worth it to go and look what might have been answered in the past. For all of you, obviously they're new, but if you're interested, you could go back and have a look as well. I often will get questions and I'll know because I'll remember that that was something that had come up somewhat recently. And so I can search it and forward it rather than having to wait 2 weeks to have essentially the same answer again. So yes, so thank you very much. I appreciate that. All right, well, we'll then move on to our second presentation of the evening, fire station location update. This is Dark Horse Emergency. So I would invite Mr. Woodruff and Mr. Reed to, okay, they're joining us online.
Yeah, hello.
I would invite you to introduce yourself and take the floor to provide your presentation, please.
Great. You can hear me okay?
Yep.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you, Mayor Hibbs, and thanks for having us today. Let me just get my presentation in order. All right. I assume we're seeing the slideshow?
Yep.
Perfect. Yeah, so my name's David Woodruff. I'm calling in from Edmonton. We're here to report on the station location project that was given to us from the city of Lacombe to apply more numerical, data-driven approach in modeling where potential station locations might be and how they might best serve Lacombe. So about on this project, Lacombe has spent years considering its best location. Because it's just one station, we want to get that decision right. Dark Horse Emergency is based in Edmonton. We've been working with clients around the country and around the world. We bring more than 15 years of experience analyzing station locations. That's kind of our bread and butter. And so we're excited to help a community so close to us, find a permanent home for its new station. So to support this work, we gathered input at a public open house, and we cleaned and analyzed more than 5 years of Lacombe Fire Department data, and we fed that into our model, and the results of that analysis will be shown in this presentation. So a bit of background and context on Lacombe Fire Department. It was first established in 1907, and today it serves about 14,000 residents within the city limits and additional residents in surrounding areas. It's staffed by 3 full-time chiefs, 36 paid on-call members who operate a fleet of 5 firefighting apparatus. Lacombe is continuing to grow, and we're also seeing call-in volumes increase. So we're responding to more demand than ever. So we want to make sure to get this station placement right. A bit of a bird's eye view on our area of location. We can see Lacombe city limits right in the middle there. That counts for about 270 incidents last year. 117 incidents were in that larger box that borders Gull Lake, and 59 incidents were beyond that. So majority of incident demand is coming from Lacombe, but the demand that is coming from outside the city limits isn't inconsequential. As I mentioned, over the years, we've seen a steady rise in incident volume, averaging about 7.2% year over year, which would beat population growth. And part of this incident demand increase is driven by fire incidents, the majority of which are occurring outside Lacombe city limits. Here we have a breakdown from inside city limits and outside city limits for the top 3 types of incidents. So as we can see, inside the city, it's largely driven by alarms following fire and EMS incidents. Outside, the Lacombe Fire Department is mainly attending multi-vehicle collisions and fire incidents. So getting into our station location work, we were provided some previous work from the city that had some great drive time visualizations. These were great context, but we did start from scratch and apply our own station location methodology. This adds a bit onto looking at where drive times might be, because we're factoring in incident demand and incident frequency, and we're dynamically calculating the ability to meet that incident demand from various locations. And we'll also apply future demand so we can see those results in today and expected future conditions. Bit of context on how we look at performance. So we evaluate it by looking at the total response time and individual intervals, and we're looking at that in the 90th percentile. And this is to get a better understanding of what area can we reliably respond to 9 times out of 10. So these are standards from the National Fire Protection Association, and these are the most widely adopted standards and targets that measure emergency response performance. They have a standard 1720 that is specifically for paid on-call departments like Lacombe. And the performance results we see in the following slide represent our modeled ability to meet that 10-minute urban response target. So one of the benefits of our model is we're also incorporating future demand from planned developments. So I was able to get some documentation of developments in progress in Lacombe in the north and south ends. Because there's no specific completion date of when those will be completed, we define this a build-out forecast. So in our forecast, we're modeling for a future Lacombe population of over 18,000. So for each of the potential station locations, we looked at performance and drive time for both current day demand and the potential future demand. I'll just highlight some notable demand locations before we go into it. So first is our downtown location. So this is really the highest source of current demand, the downtown area especially. And then I also want to highlight the areas on the map labeled too. So these are the future developments that are coming from the build out forecast. So these buildings do have improved building codes, but the new developments generally have a higher population density than current residential areas. So we expect that to drive some incident demand. One thing I'll note is the potential locations we'll look at that were presented to us are slower than the current location, mostly because that existing location is so central to that high spot of downtown demand. The first location I'll highlight, this is our optimal location. We call this a greenfield optimization. So we give our system some parameters and it picks the best one, you know, if nothing was in the way. So out of any location you could put one, we identify the 50th Street and 54th Avenue as the highest performing location, coming at around 24% that you'll see in the current demand, mainly because it's close to that downtown incident density, and we can also access the north via the C&E trail, and we're relatively close to the south demand as well. However, you know, this is just an optimization. There's a lot of land availability constraints, and the presence of school and playground zones also complicate this as a actual location. So next we'll look into the locations that were presented to us and that we gathered feedback from participants at the open house. And they're presented in decreasing projected demand. So of the proposed locations, 4410 Woodland Drive, also referred to as the Ball Diamond in some places, provides most central coverage of Lacombe with access to multiple arterial roads that support demand within and beyond the city. So it's located between planned future developments, and it can access that downtown core demand relatively easily as well. Not too far behind in terms of first due percentages is Michener Park. So again, we have that competitive access to that central downtown demand, but it starts to fall behind when we're considering those northern developments especially. And one constraint that was brought to us, or a couple constraints that were brought to us, one is its low-lying geography, just as a difficulty in terms of development and potential flooding hazard for emergency management operations. And we are over-reliant on 50th Avenue with no current good way to go around it, were there to be an obstruction on 50th Avenue. The next location we looked at is Highway 12 and Wolf Creek Drive. So this is on the east side of the tracks, and we also found pretty strong drive time performance. It's able to really quickly jump on Highway 2A and really quickly able to access that downtown. However, we also ran some modeling on if we were unable to pass the road because of a train blockage. So you'll see additional lines in this table. The first is the central and south locations blocked, and a next line is central, south, and Wolf Creek crossings blocked. So this drops the performance by quite a bit. You know, we see a bump in 3 minutes at the drive time 90th if all those crossings are blocked. We also looked at Len Thompson Drive. So this is situated along a corridor with minimal incident demand, so it doesn't really have any natural benefits in being close to demand. It's kind of like a long extended driveway that extends drive times. In addition, this is also east of the tracks, and were the north crossing to be blocked, we would see some large performance decreases. We also looked at the airport. So this is really well positioned to access demand in that northern new development area. However, it is that central demand in downtown is a bit past the green zone. and developments in the south are also a bit far away. So this was our second last performing station. The last is the Midway Center. So very well positioned to meet that center demand, not very well positioned to meet the north and south. And as a result, our first due performance percentages are quite low from this location. So given these performance numbers, we recommend that the 4410 Woodland Drive is the best location to serve Lacombe residents now and in the future. You know, it has the highest overall performance, and while there are some sites that are competitive, they don't have the Woodland Drive doesn't have the additional constraints that often these other competitive sites have, like railway crossings being blocked or low-lying geography and over-reliance on one road. So that concludes our analysis and my presentation on the different station locations we modeled. So I will pass it back to you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for our presenter? Councillor Dykes-Lyte.
The picture, the last slide you just showed, the picture on the side with all the stars, is that from a public engagement session, or what are these stars representing?
Yes, this is from the open house that was hosted
Okay.
at the fire hall. Yeah,
Thank you.
so residents were encouraged. Yeah.
Anything further? I do have a question in regards to the performance intervals and targets slide. Just to further clarify total response time. So I just want to understand. So alarm answered, that means that 911's been called and it's been answered by the service. Is that what that is referencing? The alarm answered?
Yeah.
And then unit dispatched. What specifically does that mean?
So that's
Does that
when
mean that that a unit is actually leaving the fire hall?
no, that's when basically the fire station receives the call. So that would be when the paid on call members get the notice that it's time to start heading to the station. And that time to head to the station is defined as turnout.
Okay, so at unit en route, then that is the time that we're talking that units are actually leaving the station.
Correct.
Okay, and then unit on scene, of course. Okay. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that clarification. Because that is part of the considerations, obviously, is we have to select a site that is achievable for members to get to so they can turn around and then get out with the unit. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly.
Councillor Span.
When considering and prioritizing different locations, was traffic at different times of day for different locations or increased cost to build depending on if we already own the land, things like that considered?
Our analysis focused mostly on the data from the model. We incorporated some of those, I guess, other concerns when necessary, you know, because the data doesn't show everything. It doesn't show, you know, when there's school zones or when there's only one route that is liable to be blocked. We have to kind of build that into our other assumptions. So this analysis was primarily focused on the performance results.
Councillor Span.
So if I understand you correctly, when you're getting these numbers, it's not based on firefighters in Lacombe actually driving to different locations. It's based on models that Dark Horse has.
So our approach is to download the road network from an online source, and then we kind of build our emergency response kind of version on top of it. And that version that we have control over and that I can edit to see, you know, if things are blocked, we do incorporate the previous performance and previous drive times from Lacombe. So yeah, the previous data of Lacombe's ability to drive to different parts of the city is considered in the analysis.
Councillor Contenti.
Thank you, Mayor Hibbs. Just a question in regards to Woodland. Was there any consideration taken about the multiple directions where vehicles are entering Woodland from the four-way stops off of 2A. It's congested, small area there, especially if you're going to need lights for fire trucks to come out, stopping traffic on Woodland. Was any of that considered in your
Uh,
modeling?
Not in our modeling. We did see some traffic analysis that was previously conducted. Yeah, I'm not sure if Chief Fleming or Diane are able to speak on that, but from what I've seen from that traffic analysis, it wasn't a large concern.
Follow up, yes.
Also, in regards to the train, did you do any analysis on what is the actual chance of a train being there when there's a fire? Can you do that kind of analytical data?
Yeah, I mean, if we had a kind of a general sense of what time a railway was blocked at any given hour of the day, we would need that information to input it. But this is kind of more meant as a snapshot of those worst case scenarios. And it is important to note that, yeah, this only models leaving the station and arriving at an incident. It does not take into account someone arriving at the station in order to leave the station again.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Are there any further questions for our presenters? Councillor Goings.
Thank you, Mayor Hibbs. I'm just wondering, how does our 7.2% increase in calls compare with other municipalities? Is that an outlier or is that kind of on pace with other municipalities?
Yeah, I would say that's fairly consistent with what we've seen in recent years. The number of incidents rising is often outpacing population growth.
Thank you.
I do not see any further lights, so it looks like we've exhausted our questions for you. Thank you for your presentation.
Great. Yeah, thank you for having me.
Have a good night.
Thanks, you too.
So it is approaching 6 o'clock, which is our public hearing. I don't believe we've had a public hearing yet since this council has convened. So this will be a first for me. And so we do obviously schedule these during council meetings. We generally schedule them at a specific time so that if there are people that are interested in attending, clearly they can be in the gallery at that time. So I'll call it to order, like actually at 6 o'clock, just so that we're compliant, but there is a whole script that we have to go through. So I'm just going to pull that out. I know what I did with it. There it is. So it is a very official thing that we require for some amendments that we make. This happens to be one of them. We set this time a little while back. It's always set in advance. It has to be advertised, etc. And so hence this is the part that I have to go through to make it very official. So at 6 o'clock, I will now declare that the statutory public hearing for bylaw 400.76 is open and that this hearing is held pursuant to section 7, 8, 230, 606, 640, and 692 of the MGA 2000 as amended, and request the legislative coordinator to confirm the purpose of this public hearing, that the statutory public hearing notice was advertised as required by the city's advertising bylaw, and that any written submissions received and not included in the public hearing agenda are read into the record.
Thank you, Mary Hibbs and Council. The purpose of this public hearing is to provide an opportunity for the general public to offer input on the proposed amendment to bylaw 400.76, which received its first reading on January 12th, 2026. Bylaw 400.76 seeks to amend Part 15.1 of the Land Use Bylaw 400. If approved, Bylaw 400.76 will amend Part 15.1 of the Land Use Bylaw by rezoning Lot 16, Block 2, Plan 0728925, 3810 53rd Avenue from Light Industrial District I-1 to Community Service District CS. In accordance with the city's advertising bylaw 482 and section 606 of the Municipal Government Act regarding advertising requirements, a public hearing notice was published in the Lacombe Express on Thursday, February 5th and February 12th, 2026, and on the city website as indicated in the agenda package. Mayor Hibbs and Council, one PowerPoint presentation submission was received, and the city received one registration from members of the public to speak.
Thank you. With regards to the PowerPoint that was provided, will that be displayed?
Thank you, Mayor Hibbs. Yes, when the Lacombe Fish and Game Association comes up to present, their presentation will be on the screen as well.
Thank you very much. So please note that all persons giving oral presentations are to clearly state their name, and presentations are to be brief and to the point. The order for the statutory public hearing presentation will be Development Officer, those in favor, those opposed, and any person deemed to be affected who wishes to be heard. So I would invite the Development Officer then to start the process, and then we'll go from there.
Thank you, Mayor Hibbs, and good evening, members of council. My name is Amber Mitchell, and I am the acting manager of planning and development. And tonight I am presenting bylaw 400.76, which proposes to amend the city's land use bylaw to redesignate 3810 53 Ave from the L1 or light industrial district to the Community Services District, CS. This change is to facilitate a proposed parking facility and community culture and recreation facility. I see quite a few representatives of the Lacombe Fish and Game Association in the audience, and they will be presenting more details on the specifics of their proposed development following my presentation. And my clicker is not working. This one over that one. There we go. Thank you. On October 14, 2025, Council approved the sale of this parcel to the Lacombe Fish and Game Association at a below market price. One of the conditions of the sale was the successful rezoning of this parcel to the satisfaction of both the city and the Lacombe Fish and Game to enable a successful project. After meeting with the Lacombe Fish and Game and discussing their goals, administration recommended the Community Service District as an appropriate district to support their plans for this site. Lacombe Fish and Game agreed and have led the application process to redesignate this lot. The question before council today is whether to approve the redesignation of this parcel from the light industrial district to the Community Services District as proposed. And we're working here. So this lot is located in the Len Thompson Industrial Park next to the Lacombe Police Station and just south of Powell Pond. It is currently zoned I1 or light industrial, as are many of the surrounding lots shown in light gray. The Community Service District, which falls under the category of public use districts, is also prevalent in the area. 5 other lots within a 60-meter radius also fall within the public use districts, specifically Community Services, which is the police station shown in blue, Environmental, which is the light green, and Utilities, which is the purple. As such, the proposed redesignation does not introduce an unintended land use, nor does it detract from the general use of the area as industrial lands, and is therefore does not require an amendment to the city's municipal development plan. No outline plan or area structure plans apply to this parcel. The subject site is, however, within the flood fringe, which is a portion of the flood hazard area that is not included in the direct floodway. Development within the flood fringe must require flood proofing, specifically for buildings, as defined within the land use bylaw. In addition, the development constraints map identifies a 300-meter buffer around the wastewater lagoon north of the site, and a large portion of the subject parcel lies within this buffer. Under Alberta's subdivision and development regulation, a 300-meter separation distance from working areas of an operating wastewater treatment plant or lagoon applies to schools, hospitals, food establishments, and residential areas. Uses other than these four, such as the proposed recreation facility, are not restricted by this setback. If the proposed development does include any of the four noted items, they will have to be located along the southern boundary of the parcel outside the 300-meter setback, in addition to meeting all the applicable municipal approvals. The city has advertised this bylaw amendment and public hearing in the Lacombe Express as stated. We also posted notices to the city's website and sent out letters to neighboring property owners within 60 meters of the parcel, as well as to all our referral agencies like TELUS, Fortis, ATCO, and whatnot. And to date, we have received no comments. Therefore, we are recommending that council give second reading to bylaw 400.76 as presented. Thank you, and administration is here to support your deliberations.
Thank you. I would call up the party that has pre-registered to speak next, please. Welcome.
Thank you, everyone.
And I see that the presentation is up on the screens as well.
I appreciate being your rookie for the year. Is this thing the thing that I used to go back and forth? Yes, it is. Thank you. Hello, council, administration. My name is Brad Pallister. I am the recent past president of the Lacombe Fish and Game Association. My president is here somewhere. Yeah, there he is. He's hiding in the back as far away from the mic as he'd be. And lots of our board members and volunteers are also with me here today. I'd like to take the opportunity to give a little bit of information about our organization. I understand that everybody's had some background information, but I thought it would be helpful to give a little bit about what we're doing and what we're planning to do with the site as well. So first of all, the Lacombe Fish and Game Association is a dedicated core group of 25 volunteers and 150 to 200 members on an annual basis. The organization has been in activity since 1937-ish. And has multiple properties that we either manage through a lease or a long-term lease or ownership ourselves for fisheries access. Over the last several years, we have been a steadfast partner for two public recreational facilities here in the city of Lacombe, which is Powell Pond and the Len Thompson Pond. Both are stock trout ponds, as well as a cross benefit of them being stormwater ponds. So those ponds have both been stocked with fish for well in excess of 20 years. But you'll notice in the last 10 years, there's been significant developments, in particular to the Len Thompson Pond, which is our flagship recreation area here in town. In the last 10 years, the Lacombe Fish and Game Association has helped to coordinate over $623,000 worth of public facility improvements. It should be noted that these are all public facilities. There is no user fee to access or utilize these facilities. And the vast majority of these $623,000 came from leverage grants, corporate sponsors, fundraising, as well as our own strategic reserves that the association has accumulated over our long history. So very little of that $623,000 of facility improvements is direct public funding. In addition, the Lacombe Fish and Game Association also does about $15,000 in annual program spend. A large portion, about a third of that, is to actually stock the ponds with fish. About a third of that is our outdoor education bursary, which sends women and children to outdoor camps, as well as annual scholarships for any students attempting to get to post-secondary for outdoor education related or conservation related fields. Annually, the ponds are stocked with Len Thompson Pond gets about 4,500 trout a year, and Powell Pond gets about 1,500 trout a year. The Lacombe Fish and Game Association pays for about 1,500 of them, and then the rest are donated by the Alberta government, Alberta Conservation Association, and occasionally we get bonus fish when the hatcheries have too many fish and they need places to put them. So occasionally we get those as well. I would like to highlight that we have a proven track record of doing good, meaningful flagship projects in the community. Since the world's largest lure was built in 2019, that site has been Google mapped more than 500,000 times in the last 6 years.
Wow.
So we can make an assumption that 500,000 people have taken their cars and driven to that location. But we also can also note that just general uses of the pond has gone up drastically since that improvement. And I think anybody who drives up Highway 2 can see most evenings there's lots of families enjoying Len Thompson Pond. So that's a little bit about our organization. I am not clicking this thing at all. I'm just blabbing, but I think I hit all of that.
Mhm.
That is our flagship property, the world's largest lure, the accessible dock, as well. And this is on our Kids Fishing Day. The annual Kids Fishing Day takes place the first Saturday in June every year. And depending on weather, we get between 400 and 800 participants each year for the morning. And again, that is a totally complimentary event put on by the Lacombe Fish and Game Association. There is no fee for participation. This is our most recent project. This took place in the fall. Bunch of handsome fellows in that photo. We will not be building another playground because playgrounds are very complicated to do, as I found out. But having said that, this was a very good addition to the Len Thompson Pond. It fits well within the area. It's not too big, it's not too small, and we can no longer get ridiculed as a community for having a more modest playground than anything else. So that was finished in October of this past year. But it took about 2 years to do the project. So that leads me to a brief overview of what we're attempting to do here, or what we envision. So this has also been kind of a project that has been talked about since I've been involved in the fishing game, about 8 or 9 years now. Powell Pond is a great pond. If anybody's walked around it or fished, it is a beautiful area. It's picturesque. The pond itself is actually a better pond in terms of it's deeper. And the fishies are a little happier in there because they have more places to hide from the warm and cold weather. And it's just more picturesque, but it is not accessible. And a key part of what we try to do as an association is promote accessibility. And accessibility with fishing in particular, it's a great entry into outdoors and conservation because it's easy, it's accessible, and it's not very intrusive. So fishing is a great way to start that process. We have one great facility in the Len Thompson Pond. We have another great facility in Powell Pond, but it's not accessible and people don't know it's accessible. So we have talked with past administrations and past councils about potentially building an access road, not only for people to utilize the facility as a recreation, but also to maintain it. The fish stocking truck has been stuck twice in that lot because you have to go in the swampy spring. And I think one year we had a couple of our senior volunteers, I don't know if they're here, but they had to stock the pond with garbage pails. So they loaded the fish and they went back and forth however many times. So from an accessibility point, is not just from a recreation point of view, but also a maintenance point of view. So when this opportunity to give an expression of interest on the property came to be, we made this proposal to develop the property with a access road, a nice large parking pad, and then that would allow access to Powell Pond. The secondary part that we wanted to propose was we'll call it a 3 Seasons archery facility. So archery facilities are very popular. There are competitive archery competitions that do travel, and Lacombe and actually Lacombe County, to our best of knowledge, does not have any sort of facility like that. So we are able to strongly believe that we can get the funding, and we certainly have the past expertise of construction of this type of project to build a real high-class facility that will be again publicly accessible. There will probably be a user fee for the actual archery facility, or some sort of a members discount or something like that. But it will still be a public facility. There will not be any kind of segregation, and everybody will be able to utilize the road and the parking. So that is the vision of the property. We will not be building any light industrial facilities. Thus the request for rezoning. I do have a estimate of project costs as well as project funding. And like I said, I'm quite confident that we are able to leverage based on past projects that we've been able to leverage as well through grants and in-kind and all that sort of stuff. So. Is that brief enough?
We'll let it go.
Okay.
Very informative, thank you. Are there any questions for this presentation? Councillor Contenti?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a question and just encouragement that Fish and Game just did a wonderful job at Len Thompson. It's beautiful facility now and well used. I know my grandkids go there a lot. So you just did a marvelous job on that. So much appreciate that. The other question is you show a building in that presentation. Are you going to have a building on site there?
The vision is to have kind of a storage facility, and potentially like an overhang so that people can shoot with like rain or things like that. So
okay,
it will not, at this time, it's not envisioned to be any sort of a hall or a I know that when we went through the process, food was definitely not allowed, and we don't intend to do any of that sort of food or kitchen or anything like that because of the 300-meter lagoon, whatever it's called.
The setbacks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Setback. Thank you. Yeah.
Good. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Councillor Dykeslag.
Thank you, Mayor Hibbs. Just a quick question in regards to any concerns or questions or plans around security. I know that location is nice. LPS is right there, Lacombe Police Service, handy. But in your other facilities, what is your security plans for this? It's a little bit more off the beaten path. I think we talked maybe at one time, maybe some cameras or those sorts of things. Is that still a consideration?
Yeah, for sure. So this would be a facility that would be not monitored 20, sorry, in terms of a person on site. So it would definitely be utilizing cameras and security apparatuses from that point of view, not only to ensure that there's no riffraff happening, but also to ensure safety and compliance with any sort of range requirements. Archery ranges are governed by the Alberta Archery Association, and as well as the Chief Firearms Officer of the Government of Alberta does have a say in how ranges are constructed, how they are monitored, and how they are how they're built. So it will not only be a requirement from a practicality point of view, but also from a regulation point of view to make sure that we have good quality surveillance. But there won't be anybody on site like a rink or something like that.
Councillor Span.
Thank you, Mayor Hibbs. Do you anticipate that there will be maintenance costs ongoing with a site like this? And is Lacombe Fish and Game planning to maintain it themselves?
Yeah, absolutely. So there will be maintenance costs for sure to the site, not only on the equipment and the buildings and the road, but also just the land itself. There are bylaws to make sure that it's a attractive, well-groomed site. And yes, the Fish and Game would be incurring the costs to maintain that, as it will be our property. So it'd be like any other property owner in town.
Councillor Proud.
Thank you, Mayor Hibbs. First off, I just want to say thank you to the Lacombe Fish and Game Association for all the work that you have done and the improvements that you have brought into the city of Lacombe. Very much appreciated. And just a question about the pond. I don't know the pond well myself. For access, is it the entire pond that you can access and use, or is there just a small portion that's accessible?
So just for clarity and transparency, the pond itself is publicly owned. Both of them are. They're stormwater ponds. So the city owns them and their practical use is stormwater. And the so it would be like a public property just going around, like utilizing the dog park or walking around it. So there shouldn't be any sort of barriers to utilize the ponds unless there's some. We do encourage and we do close them during the winter. The city does put out snow fencing around it just to try to prevent people from going on it. But no, other than that, they're publicly accessible at all times.
CEO Gowdy.
Okay, I do just want to raise a procedural note here that it is a little strange because the past council had endorsed this project, but the endorsement was there for below market value sale and support of the project in principle. The public hearing that we are currently in is only to rezone. It's about rezoning of the land only. And so while Mr. Palliser's presentation delved into details of the proposed development, that is not actually what's up for debate and discussion tonight. It's about the rezoning from a light industrial to community services district, which obviously does pave the way for this project, but a lot of the questions, I guess, are delving into more of like the project itself, which is not strictly part of the public hearing that we're in today, or at this time. There is an RFD later on to decide whether to proceed, and a lot of this discussion would be appropriately held there.
Thank you, CEO Gowdy. I do think it is somewhat appropriate to delve into what the proposed use is to see whether it's even suitable to do the rezoning. So I think a little bit of latitude is okay. I'm assuming that that is the end of your presentation. I would invite any, I would invite you to take your seat again. Let's not do comments. That is one thing that we shouldn't be making. We should be sticking to questions. So I would excuse you from the presenters table. And I would open up if there's any others that wish to speak in favor that have not already pre-registered, because we just had the one pre-registration. I do not see anybody that's coming forward. I would move to those opposed. Anybody that wishes to speak against this rezoning? I see none. Any person deemed to be affected who wishes to be heard? I do not see anybody come forward. That will bring us then to the end of our public hearing. So I will declare that the public hearing for bylaw 400.76 is closed at 6:26. So as was referenced, we do have a number of items on our agenda, so we will return to the main agenda. We are now into requests for decision. 6.1 is bylaw 400.76 land use amendment. This is a redesignation of property on 53rd Avenue. It has come for second and third reading. And I believe we have the presenter at the table. Go ahead and take the floor.
Thank you, Mayor Hibbs. So as previously presented, bylaw 400.76 is up for second reading, and administration's recommendation is that council gives second reading to bylaw 400.76 as presented. And I am here to support you in your deliberations.
Councillor Dykslæg.
I move that council give second reading to bylaw 400.76 as presented.
It's the proper way to do it. Do I have any questions, comments on this? Did you have anything further? No. No? It's okay. So we do have a motion on the floor. I do not see any further comments, so I would go ahead then and call the question. Please proceed to vote. And that is passed unanimously. The request is to do three readings of this bylaw. To allow for that, we have to do a special motion that allows us to do that. I would entertain that motion if someone is interested in having us do third reading. Councillor Goings.
The council resolves to recommended. Yep, sorry. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Hibbs. The council resolves to consider the third reading of bylaw 400.76 at the same meeting as second reading.
Is everyone clear on that motion? Looks that way. I'll go ahead and call the question. Please vote. And that is green. That allows us then to go to a third reading if someone wishes to make that motion. Councillor De Bresser.
Thank you, Mayor Hibbs. I move that council give third reading to bylaw 400.76 as presented.
No further discussion on that. I would call the question. Please go ahead and vote. And that is also passed unanimously. Congratulations. We will then move to our next request for decision, 6.2, fire station site selection.
Thank you,
Director Piché.
Thank you, Mayor Hibbs, and good evening, council. This evening before council, I'm here to get direction from council regarding further analysis of the fire station selection site selection following the presentation that we just had from Dark Horse Emergency.
For the new council, I wish to provide a little bit of background on the process that we've taken to date. Since 2022, the City of Lacombe has been working to identify a suitable location for the new fire station to replace our current facility, which is downtown and is also privately owned and leased back to the city. Site evaluation has been guided by clear criteria, and it included emergency response times, safety, access to major roadways, residential impact, land availability, and future development considerations. Earlier work has included surveying 10 properties back in 2022, conducting response time studies and land reviews in 2023, examining an additional 18 sites before identifying the specific site of Woodland Drive as a preliminary preferred location in 2024. And then when a decision was made in 2024 to move further with the Woodland Drive, between October of 2024 and August of 2025, legal steps and land preparation for Woodland Drive site, including rezoning and subdivision, were completed at that time. However, just in August of 2025, Council had rescinded their approval and looked at the site and listened to community comments and concerns about traffic impacts and the desire for broader public consultation. Council at that time then directed administration to retain an independent emergency services consultant to validate the process and reassess potential locations. And that's why Dark Horse Emergency was selected for that role. As we heard this evening, the consultant reviewed all of our prior studies and helped facilitate public engagement through an open house during the Light Up the Night event, where residents were able to provide feedback on possible locations. And then based on their technical analysis and public input, there were 6 feasible sites that were identified for further consideration. Administration is now seeking Council's direction on narrowing that list from 6 to 2 or 3 preferred locations. The shortlisted site will undergo operational testing using simulated emergency deployments to measure real-world responses and performance under actual conditions. The results from this testing, combined with prior technical work and community input, will form the basis of a final recommendation for Council. And this evidence-based approach will be intended to ensure that the final site selection is transparent, dispensable, and aligned with long-term emergency service needs. Administration anticipates bringing a final recommendation forward later in the spring, followed by public communication to support Council's decision. At this time, administration is recommending that Council directs administration to continue the review process to return to Council with further analysis of the following sites: 4410 Woodland Drive and the north part of the airport. I'm here to support your deliberations should you need any clarification. Thank you.
Do we have any questions for this item, or somebody prepared to make a motion? Councillor Goings.
I just want to thank admin and past council and all the consultants for all their many years of work on this project. I feel confident in all the work that you've done and the findings that have come back. So I am prepared to make that motion.
If you could read it out, please.
I move that council directs administration to continue the review process and return to council with further analysis of the following sites: 4410 Woodland Drive, north part of the airport.
Councillor Span.
Thank you, Mayor Hibbs. To administration, how did you come up with those 2 locations as the shortlisted sites? Based on the recommendations from Dark Horse, the North Airport one was one of the lower ones on their list.
Director Piché.
Thank you, Councillor Span, through Mayor Hibbs. The airport was actually one that was identified by council previously as one of the favored locations. And that was the only reason that it was also included in that list.
Councillor
So,
Span.
So am I correct in assuming that this motion or this recommended motion for the north part of the airport doesn't take into account the report from Dark Horse?
Director Piche.
It does take into account the 4410 Woodland Drive, certainly.
Councillor DeBresser.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Hibbs. Councillor Span had my question. Why would we analyse the northern part of the airport as it was lower ranked in the report? My question over and above that is the consultant's work complete after what we just seen there?
Part of the report to come back also for the second part of the analysis is doing the real-time deployments. So that is to come back to council, and it will be with Dark Horse's input on that.
Councillor Span.
Thank you, Mayor Hibbs. To council, I would actually like to see the decision on shortlisting these locations be delayed. I feel like it would be something good to discuss in potentially strategic planning or at a committee of the whole meeting. And my reason for that is because I think we need a little bit more community engagement on this report from Dark Horse. I'd like to do a coffee with council or something along those lines, give public opportunity to give some input on this report, as it's just been released to us, I believe it was on Thursday. So I would actually like to vote against this proposed motion and see the decision on the short list get delayed until our March 23rd meeting to give us opportunity for discussion at a committee of the whole and do some community engagement.
Councillor Goings.
Thank you, Mayor Hibbs. Through to Director Piche. Based on the Dark Horse report that came back, is it true that the public engagement at the fire hall, the majority of people came back with 4410 and North Airport as their top sites?
Thank you, Councillor Goings. Let me just bring up the presentation here. The map that you saw on that one last photo definitely did indicate that 4410 was the highest selected one. I'd have to double check on the second highest. I believe it was the airport, but I would have to double check on that one. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Proud.
Thank you, Mayor Hibbs. To Director Piche. What was the reasoning for keeping Michener Park off the list?
I'm sorry, I really don't have a good answer for that. I apologize.
I would just leap in here that I do support us moving to the next stage, but actually the Michener Park was also a curiosity for me. If it wouldn't be too much trouble, I would actually like to add that as a third option that's further gone under analysis so that we can do a true comparison. It is geographically considerably different than the other two options. And so with that further analysis, I think that would help just hone in the best decision. And that does answer, I do hear that in the community a lot, why that area specifically isn't, being considered. So I guess I would like to consider making an amendment, but I'm going to hold off on that just for the time being. I'm going to let some other councillors speak first. I believe it's Councillor Dykeslag first, please.
I completely agree with Councillor Proud and Mayor Hibbs. I'd like to see Michener Park added. That was in my considerations as well. And I hope that would appease Councillor Span's curiosity and further research on those three sites. I don't want to delay us moving forward on the investigation. I know it seems like strategic planning is only a week away and then our next meeting, but we've delayed this long enough. for those that are involved. And I would like us to see shortlist 3, let's get at it and let's move forward.
Councillor Contenti.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Hibbs. Yeah, I was a little surprised that just the one open house decided that 4410 was the favored place. I know it's in a good location, but during campaigning, that was probably one of the things that most of the people said, we don't want it there. It's in too much congestion. And then asking Dark Horse about that, it's not considered in their modeling at all. It's just modeling is about access to roads, response times, that sort of thing, but not engaging the public or any kind of survey from anybody regarding, is this the right spot? So I was a little disappointed in that. I too don't want to delay it, but I also don't want to rule out something that may be out there yet. So I would like to probably delay this just to get a little more public input.
CEO Gowdy, did you have something in response to the comments?
Yes, the reason that Dark Horse did not include specific consideration of traffic congestion or potential traffic congestion is because there was a traffic impact assessment done previously. And so they reviewed that work and were satisfied that the traffic congestion there that does appear twice a day wasn't going to be a significant hamper to response times. But that's why we have recommended some further mock deployments to test the real world conditions, which we'd be happy to add Lower Missioner Park or any other site to there.
Councillor Span.
I suppose I'd like to add to my previous comments and agree with Councillor Contenti about the community engagement and how previous council ran into some issues, and that was the whole point of rescinding their motion, was that they felt like they hadn't done enough community engagement. And I feel like one open house, does that satisfy that condition for us? For me, it doesn't, and I would like to see a bit more get done before we move on to this step.
Councillor De Bresser.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Hibbs. To Councillor Span's point, I think we as a council need to make data-driven decisions, and I think the report was fairly clear to us which sites we should move forward in analysing. I'm all about community feedback and whatnot, but when we've hired a consultant to say, hey, based on these models, this is the location, we should explore that further. And with that, I'd like to put an amended motion on the floor. That council move to direct administration to continue the review process and return to council with further analysis of the following sites: 4410 Woodland Drive, north part of the airport, and Michener Park.
Very good. So that is an amending motion now on the floor. It's taken the original motion that we have and have added the additional site. Is everyone understanding what is now on the floor? Do we have any further comments on that? Does not appear to be so. Not sure if we're able to make that. I know tech loves it when we do amendments on the fly here, but I'll just wait for that to get entered into the system, and then we will do a vote on that amending motion. Whatever the outcome of that amending motion, then we will return back to the main motion. The system works great until we confound it with little complications like this. So just a little bit of patience. There we go. That council directs administration to continue the review process and return to council with further analysis of the following 3 sites. The Woodland site, North Airport, and Mitchener Park. Go ahead and call the question. Please vote. That's correct. So that results are in. That is 6 voting in favor, 1 against, Councillor Contenti against. So this is, just for clarification, just the motion that either passed or failed that amendment. So that amendment has passed, which means now the main motion reads as those 3 sites being further analyzed. And so the original mover of that motion was Councillor Goings, so it does remain hers, although now amended. Are there any further discussion or questions on that main motion? Councillor Span, I see your light on.
Question through to administration. Do you have a bit of an idea of what the costs are of adding a site to the short list?
It's just internal staff time and paying firefighters for the mock deployments, the equipment time, the actual contractor. It's between 1 and 3 sites that we're going to conduct these, so they're prepared to do all 3. So maybe $2,000 or $3,000 to add a 3rd site.
Councillor Dyksdag.
Thank you, Mayor Hibbs. Just in further comment to Councillor Duverseur's comment about using the data, I totally agree, but I also want to consider that Councillor Contenti and Councillor Spam, have we not done a public engagement by knocking on 10,000 doors? And we have a good sense of the community's feeling on this. So would another public engagement session actually elicit more information than we have right now to our disposal? Having knocked on doors, talked to our citizens, they'll see this motion. I'm sure we're going to get talked to many, many, many more times before we make a final decision. So I think we've done a fairly extensive public consultation on this issue, probably more so than any other issue, having just campaigned.
Councillor Span.
This could go through to Councillor DeBresser as the amender on the motion, but I'm curious about the reasoning behind wanting to add that location. Is it based on what you've heard from the public, or is it based on personal feelings about that location, or what is it?
Thank you, Councillor Span. Actually, I came in this evening wanting to take the north part of the out of the equation, hearing the fellow councillors that they wanted to add the Mitchener Park in there based on what their feedback. I'm happy to do all 3 sites.
Councillor Span.
That kind of thought process is why I want to do more community engagement. I can respect the fact that other councillors wanted to add that site, and I agree with that. But I do think when we engage the public further on some of these things that we may get input or ideas from them that may not even be on this list.
Thank you, Councillor Span. My answer to that would be we can always find a new site. That we do at some point have to cross the finish line with this project. We have some very good sites that have been looked at. Council feels on whole that these are the 3 recommended sites for further analysis. I think that is what the motion is on the floor now. I don't really see any further feedback that's going to change anyone's mind on that. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But I am now prepared to call the question. If you please go ahead and vote. So that motion has passed with a vote of 5-7. 2 councillors opposed are Councillor Span and Councillor Contenti. We'll move on to the next item, 6.3, Fire Station Functional Element Design Update.
Thank you, Mayor Hibbs.
Director Piche.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Hibbs. So further on to the process of the fire station project, council in the last year had established an ad hoc functional element design committee to ensure that the building layout supports modern emergency operations. Last January, a request for proposal was issued through the Alberta Purchasing Connection, and ACI Architecture was selected to facilitate a functional element design process and provide subject matter expertise. The committee included elected officials from both the City of Lacombe and Lacombe County, administrative staff from both organizations, and personnel, and fire personnel and provincial stakeholders. The cross-jurisdictional approach ensured that operational needs across all service partners were considered. And with the consultants' support, the committee toured comparable fire stations, assessed deficiencies in the current facility, identified the operational requirements for more modern station. There were multiple workshops that where committee members and firefighters and staff from multiple departments participated in group activities to design and build mock fire stations using pre-constructed blocks as rooms. They also reviewed images and concepts for fire stations and created lists of fire station needs, wants, and wishes. The key needs, of course, include fire safety features, apparatus storage, training space, decontamination areas, and rapid response readiness. These elements were translated into conceptual design, building designs that resulted into 3 concept options with Class D cost estimates. And at this stage, the Class D cost estimates typically have an accuracy range of approximately -20% to +30% of the costs that are being made to build. So the cost analysis administration does admit the preliminary estimates are significantly higher than what the approved budget is. While the construction market has escalated over the past years, the variance indicates that there's some current design scope needs that administration will need to work with the consultant on. Areas for review of that will be the building size, efficiency, material choices, building systems, site development assumptions, and any contingency allowances. Administration recognizes that the functional element design program reflects extensive stakeholder input and design service levels. But the refinement that as we work through those costs, we'll focus on preserving core operational requirements while identifying efficiencies in the design, materials, and phasing and configuration. Administration is working with the contractor, ACI Architect, to develop a concept design that is within the allotted budget and and that has been approved to date. And council will receive an update, design, and a validated cost estimate before any construction contract is executed. At this point, I'd like to pass the floor over to CAO Gowdy to discuss the next steps of the design build process.
CAO Gowdy.
Thank you. So essentially, what we're doing here is closing the loop on the previous process of this functional element design committee. There wasn't anybody in council that was involved in that, but it was involved members of our administration, the fire services team, our council, Lacombe County Council. And so it's not unexpected that That generated a design that would allow for a very high level of service. Unfortunately, it doesn't align well with the city's available budget at this time. That's a common stage to be at this step of a municipal project. And now we're letting you know that the next step in our mind would be to start looking at that design with a contractor and a design build team that can give you real pricing, advice on constructability, and make sure that you are efficiently constructing for the needs of the service, not necessarily all of the wants. Again, it's a very typical stage to be at for a project of this magnitude. The sort of weird part here is because of the crossing of the council, there's no one here who was involved in the functional element design. So what we'd like to do, we did include that functional element design report and the costing in your in-camera package, just so that we're not putting it out for all potential builders to see. And because the design itself is not irrelevant, but it's a great starting point for us. It won't be what's built. It won't be what's built in the end, because of the differential between the budget and the estimated cost. So what we're asking for today is both to acknowledge that we've completed that functional element design process, and that we would move ahead with getting some pre-construction services from a design build team to get that design and project scope in alignment with the available budget, or as close as we're realistically able to, before we return back to you to say, okay, we've gone through that exercise. Here's the new estimate. Here's the new design. Do you want to proceed to tender this out, or we'll have real costing at that time? Do you want to proceed to the construction phase? So this doesn't authorize any new budget. It doesn't authorize construction. It authorizes us to take the next steps of engaging a specialist to help us work through right-sizing the scope.
Do we have any questions? Councillor Contenti.
Yeah, thank you. It's more, I guess, more of a comment that I totally agree. We can start working in parallel till we figure out where we're actually going to put it. We can start that process. We need to get ahead of some things. I've been involved in projects of this size. We don't really know the layout of the building based on what property is going to be used. So, but we can still go ahead with the wants, the needs, the requirements of the hall itself. But to say that this is the size of the building and what it's going to look like, we probably can't do that at this point until we actually find the land where it's going to situate, because it could change the actual building, configuration.
CEO Gowdy.
Yeah, that's correct. We wouldn't be able to finalize it, but there is a number of steps between now and then. I mean, we first have to release an RFP to seek a design build team. Then they need to work with us and the functional elements that have already been identified and start looking at, okay, was this really something you need, or can we do with a cheaper version? The finalization, you're right, wouldn't happen until site selection has been finalized, but we anticipate that being a matter of months, and that it wouldn't hold us up from finalizing the design.
Councillor Dyke-Slag.
Do you anticipate your committee having to meet again, seeing we have no current council members on that committee, prior to submitting something to council as a whole? And if so, will you be looking for 2 folks from this current council to join that committee?
CEO Gowdy.
Through Mayor Hibbs, thank you for the question. No, actually, the Functional Element Design Committee was an ad hoc committee that had a defined conclusion of production of a functional element package, which is in your in-camera package this evening. We wrapped that work up prior to the election, knowing that it would be kind of an awkward thing to restart it after the fact.
Motion. Councillor Contenti.
Thank you, Mayor Gibbs. I move that the council directs administration to procure pre-construction services, including design refinement cost estimation from a design-built firm or team, and that the administration return to council with updated costing and design prior to executing a contract for construction of the fire hall.
Those are two separate motions, so we'll just deal with the first motion to begin with, because we can only have one on the floor at one time. So Councillor Contenti has moved that council directs administration to procure the pre-construction services, that first motion. Do we have any further questions or comments?
Yeah, I'll just jump in there with a comment if that's okay, Mayor Hibbs. To administration, can you explain for us the concept between the design build versus other construction procurement methods and why administration is recommending design build?
Certainly. So the main features of a design build project delivery method are that you have an engaged contractor and architect firm with in-house engineering or subsidiary engineering, but it's all managed by them. There's price certainty once you establish a stipulated sum. And so it removes a lot of the price uncertainty for the city. Another more typical project delivery method would be design bid build, or invitation to tender, it's sometimes called, where a design would be completed by usually a team of engineers and architects. Then that would be released to the market for contractors to bid on. It's a really effective method for, say, paving roads or replacing certain sections of pipe where the work is really well defined and understood. But when you get into more complicated facilities like a municipal building, often the design doesn't fully contemplate the constructability of the project in a way that having a contractor on the team would. There are several other methods, such as integrated project delivery, where risk is shared between the municipality and the design and construction team, but it wouldn't be suitable for a project of this size. You'd need $20 million, $30 million projects. Typically in municipalities, you'll see the most common two are design build, and design bid build.
Councillor Span.
How far down that road are you able to go without having a site picked out?
You'd certainly, we do have a functional design that identifies rough spaces and areas for different features and functions of the building. So to take that and start converting it to an actual design that has room sizes and the elements that are included in each room, that work can continue. It's really that finalization of orientation on the site, if there's a special configuration required because the site is oddly shaped, or in the case of the Missioner site, one of our concerns there that did lead us to not recommend it as a further was concerns about the dewatering that might be required, just because of our history of that site having some issues with water. So there are some finalizing details that once the site is finished, you'd have to work through, but you could get 80% through the design probably before you run into the need to confirm those final details.
Councillor Proud.
I would just like to move on the motion.
There is a motion on the floor already that Councillor Contenti has. If you do not have any further questions on that, I think that we've exhausted our questions on this item. So I would go ahead then and call the question on that first motion that council directs administration to procure pre-construction services, including design refinement and cost estimation from a design build firm or team. Please enter your vote. And that does appear to be unanimous. It is. I know that Councillor Contenti had also read off the second motion. Is that a motion you still wish to read out?
I do. I move the administration return to council with an updated costing and design prior to executing a contract for construction of the fire hall.
Very good. Is there further questions on this item? Does not appear to be so, so I will go ahead and call the question. Please go ahead and vote. And that has passed unanimously. Thank you. We will then move on our requests for decision to item 6.4. This is an invoice appeal. This item is returning back to us after a presentation from the public. So invoice appeal for incident 25-0443. Director Piché, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Hibbs. This request for decision is derived from a previous meeting. On February 9th, a citizen raised a concern regarding an invoice that was issued to them following a 911 call reporting dark smoke from an industrial building chimney. Administration has reviewed the incident details, operational response, and billing rationale. So on December 14th, 2025, 911 received a report of a possible commercial or industrial structure fire with visible smoke. The fire crews from the Lacombe Fire Department were dispatched under a smoke showing condition and arrived. Upon arrival, crews observed heavy black smoke coming from the chimney with no visible indicators from the exterior. No after-hours contact was available on site. A remote representative advised the situation was not worth worrying about and attributed the smoke to a furnace. The crews, though, established a command and staged apparatus, prepared suppression lines and forced entry, and conducted a primary search of the building. The source was identified as an oil-burning furnace on the second floor, which subsequently isolated and shut down. The operational justification is that the initial report and the on-scene conditions were consistent with a potential structure fire, including heavy black smoke and unknown occupancy status. The fire crews must verify conditions in person to ensure that there is no active fire or life safety risk. Monitoring detected elevated hazards, including approximately 28 parts per million of carbon monoxide, elevated temperatures, and evidence of charred soot. These conditions confirmed that intervention was warranted and protected occupants, neighboring properties, and firefighters. The rationale for forcible entry is that the fire service decision in making commercial structure incidents is necessarily conservative and risk-based. The key factors supporting entry included the dispatch classification, the visible heavy smoke and unknown interior conditions, the absence of a key holder, and inability to complete a full exterior assessment. Relying solely on remote assurances would have risked delayed discovery of a fire, concealed extensions, or life-threatening situations. Actions were taken that were consistent with our established standard operating guidelines for this type of incidents. The invoice does reflect the actual deployment of the multiple apparatus and personnel, the time on scene, and the operational actions that were taken. Reducing or waiving this invoice would transfer these costs to the general taxpayer, and it would also create a precedence of encouraging appeals whenever a response does not ultimately result in a confirmed fire. This could lead to inequity between property owners who comply with invoices and those who do contest them. What we've presented to council for options, though, is deny the appeal. This is option A, deny the appeal. The invoice remains as payable in full. Or option B, a partial reduction as a goodwill measure without prejudice. The approach was previously offered as an alternative to avoid any time and expense to formal council processes. Or C, waive the invoice in full. Administration does recommend option A to deny the appeal and uphold the invoice in full. However, we look to council for direction on this. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. Questions on this item? Councillor Contenti.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Hibbs. Based on experience, I absolutely agree. The fire department did exactly as they should have. You cannot guarantee from somebody remotely saying, don't worry about it. That's just not going to work. So that part of it is absolutely correct. We shouldn't have any real concern or discussion about that. As far as the cost of it, I mean, who likes cost? I wouldn't want me to have a bill neither. But, you know, we do have that in there. I don't want to see precedent set, even though it, you know, we can do it without prejudice, but someone's still going to see it. So I'm fine either way, either denying it or reducing it. I just want to make the comment that the fire department did everything as they should.
Councillor Goings.
Thank you, Mayor Hibbs. Through to Director Piche, you had mentioned that the property owner was initially offered a reduction. Was that denied by the property owner?
Yes, it was. He wanted to come to council to get it repealed or appealed entirely.
Okay, thank you.
CEO Gowdy.
Thank you, Mayor Hibbs. So the reason that we had initially offered a reduction was sort of a pragmatic approach to, we recognize it is annoying to get a bill, but we did incur cost. We wanted to avoid the further cost of council presentations and preparing RFDs. Now that those have been incurred, that is what has recommended our return to the full invoice amount.
Someone prepared to put forward a motion. Councillor Span.
I just had a question. I don't know if it'll be able to be answered. But do we know if the Lacombe Fire Department had not intervened, do they feel like it would have escalated? I'm just thinking from a homeowner standpoint, if you know something, you've got a furnace that blows black smoke and a neighbor's gonna call and the fire department comes out. If you know what it is as a homeowner, you may be inclined to say, yeah, don't worry about it. I'll be back in an hour and take care of it or something like that, right? So I'm curious about if we would have any information on if the Lacombe Fire Department had not intervened, do they feel that this would have escalated?
I don't actually think that it's a fair question, frankly. One that would require the fire department to answer, and they're theoretically not presenting tonight. But that really shouldn't matter. We should be looking at it from a, you know, there is an issue, they respond, and what's the appropriate response. Councillor Contenti has already commented on his opinion. I guess that'll be the rest of council to decide if that was an appropriate response, and then what our response is to this request. For myself personally, I would say that while I appreciate that this is a bill for that property owner, they also are aware that they have a stove that behaves the way that it is. They can say that they have full trust that it is safe. Nobody else knows that. To simply avoid that problem in the future is to not operate the stove in that fashion. I am comfortable with the recommended motion myself. I would support that as an outcome. I think that property owners, whether it's a home or a business, has a responsibility to keep up their equipment and not invite this sort of situation. And it's just really important that it is very clear with our first responders that that is the policy. They follow the policy and it keeps our community safe because they don't know. And a few minutes delay can be the big difference between being able to put it out with little damage versus it now has gotten away too big. And frankly, I just don't think it's worth the risk and certainly not for this dollar value. So I would speak in favor of the recommended motion. Councillor Span.
Just to add to that, I guess I definitely support what our first responders did. My only hesitation is the fact that they got a hold of the property owner and had a discussion with him minutes before going into his house. If for example, they were to not have gotten a hold of the property owner, I would have zero issue with that. But that's where my hang up is a little bit. And I would be in favor of option B. And I will make that motion that council direct administration to reissue a revised invoice with an approved partial reduction of the bill by 50% to a total of $1,241.50, down from the original amount of $3,165.50. As part of this reduction, the fire department will require that a permanent lockbox containing property keys be installed outside the premises at an additional cost of $275.
I guess I would just speak in rebuttal to that, that while the property owner was contacted, but they were not on site. So they're providing an opinion that's frankly, from a legal perspective, not informed because they're not on site. They can't verify that there in fact is nothing happening. So unfortunately, I will be voting against the motion. Councillor Contenti.
Yeah, I can appreciate too the cost, but the owner was offered a reduced amount and chose not to accept it. So I think that should have, that should tell us something that really not willing to do that. So I'm in favor of just not going with a reduced amount.
Are there any further questions before I call the question? Does not appear to be so. So just to be clear that Councillor Span does have the motion on the floor. It is not the recommended motion. It is an alternative. I'll go ahead and call the question. Please vote. That motion has failed to pass with a vote of 6-1, with a sole in favor being Councillor Span. That means that we do require another motion if somebody is wishing to make it. Councillor Proud.
I move that council deny the appeal of the fire services invoice arising from the incident 25-0443, December 14th, 2025, 4562 46th Avenue, and confirm that the invoice remains payable in full.
Thank you. Any further discussion on that? Does not appear to be so. I go ahead and call the question. Please go ahead and vote. And that is passed with a vote of 6-1 with Councillor Span in the dissent. All right, that moves us then to the next item on our agenda. That's 6.5, funding request, Lacoma District Chamber of Commerce. Point of order, yes.
Just wondering
Councillor Contenti.
if we could take because we added 2 more and we got a couple more, I just wonder if we could take a quick break.
I think we could probably do that. So unless I'm hearing an objection to that, I would go ahead and call a recess. Let's do 10 minutes, so return at 7:30. Go ahead and call the meeting back to order out of our recess. So we will resume our agenda. We are at 6.5 under requests for decision. Funding request from Lacoma District Chamber of Commerce. Director Hackett.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Mayor Hibbs and members of council. As you may recall, in January, the Chamber of Commerce came to Chambers here and made a presentation to council highlighting their work in the community in 2025 and also requested $10,000 and 40 hours of no charge time at the LMC for the 2026 year. This request appeared before you in the form of an RFD at the February 9th council meeting. There was some discussion, and after discussion, council postponed making a decision on the request until tonight's meeting. So the request is before you again for a decision. The recommendation from administration is to provide a one-time funding of $10,000 to the chamber and to gift 20 hours of no charge time at the LMC. At the last council meeting, there was some discussion around the proposed app being developed by the chamber to highlight businesses and events in Lacombe. As described in the RFD, there is demand for more community awareness of events through some type of platform. And I will just add that administration recognizes that to have good use, a good value to the community, any medium, whether that be an app or a website or let's say even a digital sign, it needs to be kept very current, very complete, up to date. And that can be a big challenge. We haven't been able to allocate resources internally to do this in the form of an app or website. But we also recognize that the Chamber's app is new and it's not complete yet. So there is some synergy there potentially. Many communities and platforms face this challenge though of keeping it current. So we recognize both elements there. The Chamber has also noted that the funding will be applied, if received, to support their business breakfasts. So thank you. I'm pleased to support Council's deliberations of this request.
There are two recommended motions that are separate from each other. Do I have anyone that has any questions or prepared to make motions? Councillor Goings.
I just wanted to, I spoke about it last meeting about the chamber, but I am fully in favor of this. I think the chamber is doing really positive things in the community. So I'm prepared to make that motion.
Which motion?
Oh, I apologize, Mayor Hibbs. I move that council directs administration to provide one-time funding in the amount of $10,000 to the Lacombe District Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you. Councillor Dykeslag.
Thank you. So it was my request for the delay on this decision as I sit on Lacombe Tourism Board. I did want to bring it to their attention. I did have it added to their agenda at my last meeting. There is some reservations from Lacombe Tourism in regards to the app. Some concern around duplication of what their website is doing and what the app will also be doing. It was in our discussions, there was also concerns around the push notification feature of an app. And that could interrupt some of the flow of the app. I was hopeful that in my discussion I would hear that there has been collaboration between Lacombe Chamber and Lacombe Tourism. That has not occurred in this regard and may have a potential for the future, I hope. And hopefully in my position on that board, we can start to have those sorts of collaborations. I appreciated a conversation I had with Director Wendy Beyer as I reviewed the intentions of the app. And as I reviewed those intentions, I do find that I maybe am a little archaic in my feelings about website versus apps. I am a little older and I now know that this generation maybe does function in the app world more than a website. The website that Lacombe Tourism is well patronized. It is very, very robust. So then I did some further research and I contacted Red Rocky Mountain House, who has this app, this particular app that we're speaking of. I had a great conversation with their ED, and it sounds like it takes a lot of investment, time, and energy to have a successful app. They have shown the best practices. Mrs. Beyer and I talked about utilizing the Rockies' best practices in this regard. And I think now I can reasonably support the $10,000 for an app and hope that we do the education pieces, the promotion pieces, and I hope in the future work collaboratively with Lacombe Tourism, because I think it will benefit both. I think it's a complementary app to their website work, and I will support this motion.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to have a question answered before we go ahead and call, oh, sorry, Councillor DeBresser.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Hibbs. In the RFD here, administration is therefore recommending a limited time trial for up to 3 years at $10,000 per year. The current motion is, for all intents and purposes, for a one time. Is that something that I'm missing here, or we'll come back and revisit next year?
CEO Gowdy.
It would be just for one time this approval, but we want to flag it for you that this would be an ongoing thing we're seeing for at least 3 years to know whether the app is successful or not. But you only approve budgets 1 year at a time. So this would be just the 26 allotment.
There is a motion on the floor. I do not see any more red lights. I would go ahead and call the question. Please vote. That is passed unanimously. There is a second motion as a recommended motion for this item, if anyone's prepared to make that. Councillor Goings.
Thank you, Mayor Hibbs. I move that council directs that the Lacoma District Chamber of Commerce be gifted 20 hours of no charge use of the Lacoma Memorial Center meeting rooms during non-peak hours in 2026.
Nothing further to add on that. Does not appear to be so. I will go ahead and call the question. Please vote. And that is passed unanimously. Thank you. That will move us then to 6.6 under request for decision. Council reconsideration of the October 13th, 2020 resolution on the 76th Street roadway extension. Director Thompson.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. On October 13th, 2020, Council resolved to commit to the staged construction of 76th Street within 1 year of specific development triggers being met by the developer of Midway Center Phase 1. In August 2025, with the building permit approval of a 6-unit townhome building, the assessed value triggers in the 2020 resolution have been met. At Council's December 2025 meeting, Council directed administration to provide formal notice to the developer that Council wishes to reconsider its 76th Street staged construction commitment. The city's legal counsel issued notice to the developer on January 14th, 2026 by email and registered mail. Although the registered mail was returned, it was sent to the corporation's officially registered address with the corporate registry, and our legal counsel is satisfied procedural fairness requirements have been met. To maintain procedural fairness in its consideration, administration recommends the following steps be undertaken at this meeting. As an affected party, the developer be invited to present to council in an open session tonight. 2, council ask follow-up questions to the developer in an open session. 3, that council deliberate and make its decision in an open session. And that if required, council may receive advice in a closed session. However, deliberation on the matter should occur in public. As of today, the city has not received any written submissions from the developer. If the developer is present, it would be appropriate to invite him to speak following my remarks. There are 3 primary options before you. First, council may rescind the 2020 resolution entirely. Second, council may rescind and replace the resolution, for example, by tying the 1-year construction timeline to the issuance of final acceptance certificates for Phase 1 instead of assessed value of development. Or third, council may defer the decision to a future meeting if additional information is required. We are available to support council's deliberations on this matter.
Thank you. Any questions on this item? Or is anybody prepared to make a motion? Councillor Contenti.
Yeah, I think I mean, I could talk a lot about it, but I think I'm just prepared to make a motion.
Very well.
Just gotta figure out.
Director Thompson, did you have something to add? Sorry.
Just as a matter of, just for the record, it is important that that is on the record that the developer is given an opportunity to speak tonight. If they are present, it is not known to anyone outside this room whether they're present or not. And so it would be appropriate to
check
and make that known and then proceed with the deliberations and discussions.
I absolutely appreciate that. When you were commenting on that earlier, I meant to make a point of inviting anyone that may be present. And then it slipped my mind. So thank you for bringing that up. So while we will, clearly there is nobody identifying themselves in the gallery right now, we will just check to make sure that there's nobody in the foyer. There is not. All right. So there's no one present to speak to this item on behalf of the developer. So we can go ahead and proceed back to Councillor Contenti.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. I'm proposed, or make a motion that council rescind its resolution of October 13th, 2020, committing to the stage construction of 76th Street. Road, 76th Street road extension to a paved standard connection with Midway Center development.
Very well, that is the recommended motion. Councillor Span.
Under financial considerations, it speaks about how council had approved 2.05 million for the 76th Street upgrade, of which approximately 100,000 has been spent on engineering and construction package and preparation. My question through Mayor Hibbs to administration is, will that be a sunk cost if we don't proceed, or will those engineering and engineering costs and construction package be used at a later date if or when that road does go ahead?
Director Thompson.
Yeah, it's a fair question. So it would be our intention to kind of conclude at a natural conclusion with design drawings in hand and complete. We have to be cautious about how far we go because those design considerations are also factor in environmental requirements regarding the ditch and utilities that are in place today. And so we don't want to go so far to kind of assume that all the utilities and all the conditions today will certainly be those conditions in the future, but we will have on hand and in our files all the information to date, including the surveys to date, including the engineering to date. There will be some level of sunk cost, certainly as if we were to revisit this, depending on how far along, if this is 5 years, 10 years down the road, the engineers at the time will factor in what was done and consider that and incorporate what they can into their new design or their refreshed design. But it's likely that they will seek an updated survey and updated utilities, locate and things like that to inform their current design.
Councillor Dyke-Slyke.
I just want to put on the record, I appreciate the attempts to contact this developer and that we had a lengthy discussion on wanting to be an open-minded council for this developer and having them come present to us in person to understand the obstacles, the challenges, and the future of this development. And I'm highly disappointed that they haven't taken up us on that opportunity, and feel like our efforts of goodwill may have been in vain in that long conversation we had at last meeting on this topic. So I appreciate the effort. I'm disappointed in the response.
Oh, sorry, Councillor DeBresser.
Thank you, Mayor Hibbs. My question to administration, if the recommended motion does go through, what's the process after that? Is it just wait and see? Is it, yeah, I'm just trying to think, think forward, because I did like the alternative. If it's more performance based at an FAC level, saying, hey, we'll do this for you. However, you need to show some completion on prior kind of commitments there. So I'm trying to see where this will go after the recommended motion, if it does pass.
CEO Gowdy.
So my thought there would be, you'd be looking for the advice of administration to return with it as a recommended project at some point in the future, where we've seen what we see as suitable progress, or that you would receive an updated request from the current developer or a future developer to say, yeah, I'd like you to complete that road now. It's hampering my ability to successfully complete this development or to sell the land. That would come either through a recommendation from administration, probably informed by discussions with the developer, or an official request from the developer. But there wouldn't be a specific trigger as there would be with the alternative motion that you highlighted.
Seeing no further lights, I think that I am prepared to call the question on the motion that's on the floor. Please proceed to vote. And that motion has passed unanimously. Thank you. That does then take us to the two items that were added to the agenda at the time of setting the agenda. So we have 6.7, 6.8. 6.7 is in regards to the Alberta municipalities. So the full subject is endorsement to submit Alberta municipalities member request for decision. It's regarding the Lacombe Research and Development Center closure. I believe this was emailed out, but it's quite likely that there are some that did not see this because it was rather last minute. CEO Gowdy, is this you that will be presenting on this item?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Do we have a supplement, like a sort of an accessory item on the screen as well to go with this, or is it just going to be verbal?
I believe there should be an RFD as well.
Okay.
That's been handed around.
But not, that's fine. I'm just asking if it was going to be on the screen as well, but if it's not going to be, that's fine. We all do have a paper copy of it. So if we're referencing something, we can find it.
Yes, apologies. I was saying earlier to someone, I don't think I have actually ever added any item post council agenda, like a written RFD, and then to do it twice today was very uncomfortable for me. So don't expect it to be a normal practice. It does lead to less notice for the public, less notice for council, and so it's not a practice that I support, but because of the
emergent nature.
Yes, I thought it was worthwhile. So in talking with the Alberta Municipalities Association about how they could best support our advocacy, one of the items that they identified was a special resolution for a request for a decision at the upcoming Spring Municipal Leaders Caucus. They are also doing some other advocacy work for us, but they thought this would be a great avenue and kind of mirrors the efforts of Lacombe County, who have submitted a special resolution through the Rural Municipalities Association. So I have included the proposed RFD attached to my RFD that would go to the Alberta Municipalities Association. There, unfortunately, I am not able to attend this particular Spring Municipal Leaders Caucus, which is disappointing. It's one of the, I really enjoy the event, but we would also need somebody to be there and speak to the topic itself. It's usually a very friendly crowd. It's regional, so you'll know lots of our neighbors and our collaborators. But we do need someone to speak to the request for decision. So I have requested council's authorization both to submit the request for decision and to authorize the mayor or her designate to speak to the resolution at the Leaders Caucus. I wasn't able to confirm whether you were attending.
I will be attending, yes.
So I'd be happy to answer any questions on the RFD.
Do we have any questions? Councillor Dyksleg.
No, I'm prepared to make the motion that council endorses submission of a member request for decision to the Alberta Municipality Spring Municipal Leaders Caucus, requesting Alberta municipalities advocacy urging the Government of Canada to pause and consider the decision to close the Lacombe Research and Development Centre pending a full public impact assessment and meaningful engagement with the affected municipalities and stakeholders.
Very good. Any questions, comments before we go ahead and call the question? See no lights, I'll call the question. Please proceed to vote. And that is passed unanimously. There is a second recommended motion if someone is prepared to make that. Councillor Dykslæg.
I'm prepared to make the second part of the motion that council authorize the mayor to speak or the designate of the mayor if she's unable to attend to speak at the member request for decision at the Spring Municipal Leaders Caucus if required or asked to do so.
Anything further on that? I see no lights. I'll go ahead and call the question. Please vote. And that is passed unanimously. Thank you. And thank you for administration for putting that together so quickly. This is definitely one of those situations that every possible avenue have to attack this is appreciated, and that's a significant one to have potentially the Alberta municipalities on board. 6.8 is the deferral and rescheduling of the 2026 to 2029 strategic planning workshop, which was initially intended to be held on February 26th and February 27th, which of course is this Thursday and Friday. I guess I will just lead this one off to begin with. This is also a very unfortunate situation, but it's for a good reason. This is not something that we would normally do. This has been planned. We've all been very much looking forward to this important work. But it is, as a result, there is a little bit of a conundrum. So as we just discussed in the last item, the task force in particular, the joint task force between the city of Lacombe and the county of Lacombe have been working very diligently, having a lot of meetings, trying to reach as many possible decision makers and stakeholders as possible. We had very late notice at the end of last week that we have been invited to attend a special committee meeting. So there is a special standing committee, the House of Commons Standing Committee on Agriculture and Agri-Food, and they had decided after some convincing that they were willing to hold essentially a hearing on what the impacts of this closure and closures like it across the country would have. And so obviously hearing that that was successful, that they had decided to do that investigation, we then were submitting a number of witnesses that we would love to have go and present to this committee if we were able to. And from this area, we're aware that 3 invitations have gone out. There possibly could be more in the future, but one of them is a local area resident that has connections with various stakeholder groups. Excellent choice. Late last week, an invitation came for myself as mayor and for Reeve Ireland also to attend so that they could be present as panelists and to offer testimony and be present to answer questions. Hence the very last minute request for rescheduling of the strategic plan. Unfortunately, the timing, we don't get a say in when those hearings are. They have them scheduled, and unfortunately, it is on the Thursday, this Thursday. So it's a very quick turnaround, and so that obviously does create a conflict. So what I would like council to consider is to move the time of our strategic planning to a later date. I realize that that's difficult because many of you have embedded this into your calendar. I do really want to be able to participate in that. It's a very pivotal document. I know I've talked about it a lot. You've heard it from me a lot. It is the work plan for the next 4 years. It does set the marching orders essentially for the term. It is us working together to decide what the priorities are and in what priority they are in. It's just really unfortunate if I'm not able to participate in that. So that is why we have brought this forward. I guess I would invite CEO Gowdy if you have anything to add to what I have explained.
I don't think anything to add, just we don't like changing last minute, but I think that having you there is really important for support and alignment with leadership. And it's a 4-year plan. And so it's not ideal to reschedule, but I do support the decision if council chooses to do so, to reschedule.
Councillor Dyksleg.
I will move that council approve the deferral and authorization of administration to poll council to try and rebook rebook this session. Pardon me, for the strategic planning. Sorry, I maybe read the wrong part there, but yeah, to rebook the facilitator as proposed. Yes, sorry. Looking at 2 motions at the same time.
If I could just restate that and you tell me if that is a correct, yeah. So that council rescind and replace. No. Sorry, that council authorize administration to poll council members and coordinate with the strategic planning facilitator and consultant to identify mutually acceptable alternative dates for the 2026-2029 strategic planning workshop and to confirm the final workshop through the council calendar and agenda process once availability is confirmed.
Yeah, pardon me, I had gone to the other page, so yes.
Very well. Yeah, okay. All right, so that is the motion on the floor by Councillor Dyksleg. We will have to return back to the first one, but Councillor Span.
Yeah, just a point of order on that. We'd need to rescind and replace that December 15, 2025 direction before moving on to the polling council members.
Yes,
that would be the cleanest. Yeah.
Yep. I move to rescind my previous motion. I was 1 motion ahead, trying to find a date. That's on my mind.
I think probably you meant to make the first one.
I meant to make the first, but I was on the second because I'm like, how are we going to find a day?
So I think that Councillor Dyksleg actually moved that council rescind and replace December 15th, 2025 direction, scheduling the 2026-2029 strategic planning workshop for February 26th and 27th, 2026, and direct administration to defer the workshop and coordinate new dates.
Yes.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Any further discussion on that? Councillor Span.
Just a quick question. Well, I totally agree with this motion. Have there been any conversations with the strategic planning group that we've been using to talk to them about what's been going on, and are they aware of it?
Director Thompson.
To Councillor Span through Mayor Hibbs. Yes, absolutely. As soon as I found out that this was a possibility, we reached out to them to let them know that this is a pending decision of council tonight.
Councillor Span.
Through Mayor Hibbs to Director Thompson, did they give any indication of potential future dates?
They gave some indication of some flexibility in March and April, just as a Hail Mary. Maybe I'll float some dates out right now. March 19th and 20th, or April 9th and 10th.
And we have confirmed those dates work administratively as well.
March 9th.
So those look like they're potentially suitable options, but considering that that's more the second motion, we'll resume to that in a moment. Let's see if we can pass the first one first, if that's okay. So
I'm with Sonia on this one, or Director, Councillor Dykeslag, moving ahead of ourselves.
yes, okay. So we will finish off with our first motion. That is just to the rescind and replace. It does not give a date. It's just the fact that we're just giving direction to do that. See no further lights on. I'll call the question. Please vote. And that has passed unanimously. So yeah, before we get into the second motion, is council comfortable with looking at their, like, are you wanting to have a set date tonight? Is that the intention of council? Because then we could just include it in the motion, Director Thompson.
It is not absolutely necessary to have a date tonight, but while everyone's in the room, those two dates are being proposed. If they work, both of them or either of them work, that's excellent. If neither of them work, then we will poll council and find a new date.
I would say, speaking for myself, I have no preference. Sooner is better than later, if they're both equal, but I would wait to see what everybody else's availability is. Councillor Dykeslag.
I'm absolutely not available in March, but could move some things around for the 9th and 10th of April if my fellow councillors and Mayor Hibbs could also.
Councillor Contenti.
And I'm just the exact opposite. I'm not available in April 9th, 10th. I'm going to be out of the country. But am available for the March dates.
Is there a possibility of looking at some other dates that we could float?
Absolutely.
Okay, it is really important that we're all there if possible, and one person isn't more important than another. This is it's foundational for this term to have this right, and so it's imperative that we have all members there. So we will proceed with the second motion, if that's okay, as worded, that it's just a matter of finding dates. Councillor Contenti, I have you on. Would you like to make that second motion?
Why don't I do that? I move that council authorize administration to poll council members and coordinate with the strategic planning facilitator / consultant to identify a mutually accepted alternative date or dates for the 2026-2029 strategic planning workshop, and to confirm the final workshop dates through the council calendar and agenda process once availability is confirmed.
So that's clear. We're not selecting a date right now, but we are directing a polling to occur. I don't see any lights on. I would go ahead and call the question. Please vote. And that is passed unanimously. Thank you very much. That does take us then to the end of our requests for decision. Our next order of business would be the in-camera portion. Just prior to moving into in-camera, I would just state that our next meeting dates that we have currently scheduled, March 9th, March 23rd, and April 13th, all regular council meetings. I would entertain a motion to move in camera.
So moved.
Councillor De Bresser. So motion to move in camera at 8:04. I'll call the question. All those, please vote. And that is passed unanimously.